Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host, Shantae Charles. I hope that you have had a great and wonderful weekend. I know that I did, and I'm looking forward to what we have today to share with you for Monday Motivation. So I hope that you have brought your mind. I hope that you have brought your spirit. I hope that you have brought your body to the conversation as we get started on today. Hope you have something to drink. Welcome. Good morning, Pastor Ben. Good morning to those of you whose names I did not see popping up, but I know that you are in the room. Good morning to those of you who are watching us by Twitter, who are watching us by your laptop, all of those different things. So I just want to say welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host, Shantae Charles. Just giving a moment, an opportunity for those who want to join us to come in before we get started. Good morning, Prophet. How are you? And I have a little bit of low lighting on today because it's a really, really beautiful day outside. So I'm just letting the sunlight from my balcony do the work for me today. So I hope that everybody has had a great and wonderful weekend. We are doing well. We are thankful to the Lord, thankful for his goodness, thankful for his mercy. And I was thinking early this morning, as I was up, just praying about some concerns for our world and our nation, that we had this Palm Sunday. Good morning, Apostle. We had this Palm Sunday, and I was thinking to myself, Lord, how many of us, that if Jesus could just kind of sit down with us right now, how many of us might he give a face palm to? But then I thought to myself, even the times where we feel like we deserve a face palm on a Palm Sunday, on a Palm weekend, even in those times where we feel like we are messing up as disciples of the Lord, even those times when we seem to not be able to get it or to understand what the heart and mind of Jesus is, Jesus still loved his disciples, even when they were clueless, right? Even when they didn't have it all together, even when they could not understand parts of his mission, right? He would say, you'll understand this basically after I'm gone. But right now, you might not be able to fully comprehend what it is I'm trying to say to you and what it is I'm trying to get across. So that gave me some hope yesterday. Hope for the world in the future and hope for tomorrow. Just the fact that Jesus knows and understands how much we really don't know and understand, if that makes any sense. So I'm thankful today. I'm grateful today. We're going to be looking at two books. I believe this is going to be a good conversation today. This book is by a good friend of mine. Her name is Vivian Jokotade Adenayi. I pray that I'm pronouncing her last name right. But the book is called Fresh Start. And I highly recommend it for those who are looking for a guide in how to refresh yourself. And this just shares a little bit about Vivian herself. She's at Jokotade online. You can also find her at Jokotade Show on Instagram. But I'll just read you a little bit of her bio. It says, Jokotade is a Nigerian-American author, speaker, and thought leader on topics related to women, business, and leadership. She engages diverse audiences by sharing personal stories and insight with much passion, relevance, and heart. Her audio and video programs equip listeners and viewers in over 100 countries. Get to know her when you visit her online at jokotade.com. And she does have an app as well. And that app is free, and there's got all tons of especially empowering things for women, women in business, women in ministry. Jokotade herself owns a wedding business where she does wedding invitations and all of the kind of the, how can I put it, the artistry that goes around wedding planning. And she's got an incredible story of how God really took her business to the next level. And she does share it in her book, Fresh Start, which is the step-by-step journey to rebuild and renew your life. And so today I want to just share with you a section of her book where she talks about what prompts a fresh start. What prompts people to want to have a fresh start. And then after that, we're going to go to the words and wisdom of Dr. Cornel West, and he's going to give us some encouragement in terms of family and family matters. And he says so many profound things in there that I know that I'm probably going to stop a little bit and talk just from my own perspective and scriptural perspective. A lot of people don't know that Dr. Cornel West is a Christian, but he is. So he's one of the brilliant minds out there that is a believer, that doesn't hide the fact that he's a believer, and he's able to really reach all kinds of people from all walks of life. So I'm excited about sharing some of his book as well. Good morning to both of my fellow laborers in Christ, Vanessa and Vanessa. So glad to have you all both on today. Good morning, Prophet Jonathan. Good morning, Pastor Ben. Good morning. Anybody else I missed? I can't tell because sometimes you guys don't comment. So I don't know who's on. But those are the faces that I see below. So if you are on and you want to greet me and you want to say hello, go ahead and do that, and then I can see you pop up and I can greet you back. And anybody who's following me, who is commenting, I am also following you back. So if you are watching and your conversation is limited, if you go ahead and follow me, I will look in my list of followers and I will follow you back. I just want to make sure you're a real person. All right. So I do check bios. I do check to see if you've actually done any videos so I can get an idea of who I'm allowing into my space. All right. So that's just how I work here in the Daring Dialogue Zone. So Jokotade asked the question, what prompts a fresh start? What prompts a fresh start? In no particular order, I have observed that the desire for a fresh start is prompted by at least one of the following sources. I call these sources fresh start triggers. Good morning to my wonderful husband who has popped in the door. If you are like me, I imagine you've experienced at least one, either by circumstance or by choice. At the end of the book, I will introduce you to a fourth source that will be transformative to your fresh start journey. For now, let me walk you through the first three. Now, remember, we're talking about what prompts a fresh start. So she gives three different reasons. And if any of these reasons apply to you, where you've had to get a fresh start, good morning, King. You can put up a number 1, a number 2, or a number 3, or you can say all of the above. All right. So fresh start triggers. Number 1, a sense of loss. You lost something, so you had to start over. So if that's you, put a number 1 on the screen. You lost something and you had to start over. Number 2, a sense of lack. You lacked something, so you had to start over. All right. Or number 3, a sense of failure. You failed at something, so you had to start over. Right? And so some of us have had all three, and it's okay. You've either lost something, you've either lacked something, or you have had a sense of failure in something, and so you've had to start over, and that's okay. A sense of loss. If you've ever lost anything or anyone valuable, you understand the deep feeling of loss that can result. Perhaps you lost your job, your home, your business, a loved one, a spouse, a dear friend, a child, or even a pregnancy. A sense of loss may trigger your desire for a fresh start. I know in my life, while I was getting a fresh start, I lost a job, a home, and two loved ones. So for me, it was a sense of starting over as God told me to, as God told our family to, but also dealing with personal loss, more than one thing at one time. And a lot of people, I can tell you, don't handle that well. They say that the more things that you are losing at one time can actually send you into a state of depression. And so when you are dealing with people around you that are suffering losses, you want to keep that in mind. That, you're not saying things to them that's adding to the sense of grief or the sense of despair that they might be experiencing, right? Sometimes we have people around us that are suffering loss, and sometimes they're suffering in quiet, and they're not telling anyone because they don't want. Yes, people can be very insensitive during times of loss. And so sometimes people hold it in, their sense of loss, and they don't really share because they're afraid of some of the responses that they're going to get when they're trying to share their heart with people. All right? A sense of lack. If you're struggling to live within your means, if you have limited financial resources to support your everyday needs and obligations, if your life is lacking in love or your life is lacking in support, a sense of lack may prompt a desire for a fresh start. So lack doesn't necessarily mean financial. Sometimes it can be the lack of support surrounding you. I know Apostle Vanessa deals with this quite a bit, and I know I do in terms of leaders and leadership. A lot of leaders are busy most of the week being strong for other people, but very few leaders have a really good support system around them. Why? Because everybody is pulling on them. Everybody is pulling on their strength. Everybody is pulling on their faith, that a lot of people don't stop to ask, is the pastor okay? Okay, I know I'm preaching to the choir, so let me sip. I know we got leaders on here who can attest. And I know we have children of pastors who can attest that sometimes there can be so much emphasis on trying to do and trying to help and trying to minister to the people that God has placed in your care, that sometimes that's not reciprocated. Okay? And so then when leadership gets burnt out, then we turn and we look and say, what happened? But part of what happened is God did not create the body for the shepherd, for the sheep to just need the shepherd. God created his body for the shepherd to also need the sheep. Okay? So refresh a pastor this week. Refresh a leader this week. Refresh somebody that you have not maybe spoken to in a while. Go and think about who was it that encouraged you or nurtured you in your early Christian walk. And if they're still alive, try to pour some oil into their wounds this week. Try to pour some water into their dry ground this week. And I guarantee you it will make a difference in their life. All right. And then the third one she talks about is a sense of failure. A sense of failure. If you feel you failed yourself or the ones you love, if you've missed important life events, if you've had to face a divorce or separate from a loved one, if you're struggling at school or failing at work, if your bad habits have gotten in the way of your success, then a sense of failure may prompt your desire for a fresh start. Let's deal with a couple of those. All right. Here's one. If you've missed important life events. Now, most of you on here may not know this about me, but I love children. I love children. I love I was an educator in the public school system for about 15 years. And so I've got what I call children from my heart, or my students that become, some of my students have become my adopted children. Children I've worked with in ministry, that I see them like they're my little children. And some of my students, because I've taught several different grade levels, so I have students now who I taught in second grade that are now in college, first and second years in college. And it's really powerful to see them now. Like one of my students I taught in second grade, he is now running for senior class president at his community college. And when I saw him, it was like seeing that little second grader all over again. And I mean, it was just like something got me right here in the heart. I know parents understand that. When you just look up and one moment it was your baby, and then the next moment they're your young adult. And you're like, my God, where has the time gone? Right? And so sometimes you can feel a sense of, man, I wish I would have been there for more life events. Because now that I've moved away, I live in another state, so it's not as easy as it was before for me to get back and see my students, or get back and see, my godchildren, and be there for what I call some of those milestone events in their life. And so you may be feeling that sense of, man, I feel like I'm missing out on life events that I really want to be a part of, or I really want to be supportive of, but I'm just not able to do it at this particular time. Or like she said, you may be in school right now and you may be struggling at school. Like everybody else around you might be getting straight A's and B's and making the dean's list and holding up their certificates and all of their notifications of how well they're doing. And you may be in this one class that you need in order to finish your degree, and you failed it 3 times. Okay. Or you may be at work and you might have started out enjoying your work, enjoying what you do for a living. And now you're in a situation where it feels like, as one sister shared with me to keep her in prayer on last night, it feels like everything is being thrown at you. You may be in a situation where your job is maybe they don't want to pay you what you're worth. And so now they're trying to force your hand to quit. And in doing that, they may be trying to overwork you, or they may be trying to put pressures on you, or they may be trying to write you up for little things so that they can eventually say, hey, it's time for us to let you go because you have too many offenses. So all kinds of different life issues can be happening to you right now, where you feel this sense of failure that she's talking about, and saying to yourself, I need a fresh start. Lord, I need to start over. So keep these in mind, and you will discover that all 3 of these, loss, lack, and failure, is a major opportunity crucial to inspiring your dream into action. Identifying the source that applies to you will give you a head start on your fresh start. So what a fresh start is not. She says, for a long time, I thought a fresh start was a sudden occurrence, something like a sudden miracle, especially after I had prayed. I thought a fresh start meant that I would wake up the next morning and my life would promptly become perfect. There were many times I wished for a quick reset button, an easy life button I could push to make my life new, but I found none. Now, I find it interesting that she says this, because these days we hear a lot about the reset, the reset, the reset. Put some hearts on the screen if you have heard that word reset. And it's almost becoming overused. Because one thing I have found out about the anointing of God, one thing I found out about the grace of God, is that there's no easy route to it. Listen, If you're going to survive off of someone else's oil, that's an easy route, right? I can go and say, can I have some oil? Can I borrow some oil? Okay. But if you're going to produce oil, it takes a process, right? And I know Apostle ministers on this quite a bit, Apostle Vanessa. It takes a process. There's a crushing, there's a picking, there's a pressing, right? To get that oil to flow out. And so many times, most believers are convinced that if they just press a reset button, right? They press a reset button, that everything will change automatically, right? And sometimes we treat the altar call like that. Sometimes we treat the altar of God like that. That if I just go up there, the preacher or the leader lays hands on me, then I'll wake up Monday morning and like Cinderella, everything will have changed. When it doesn't necessarily happen that way. Some things in life, you are going to have to go through the process. It may be the process of time. It may be the process of learning a new skill. It may be the process of confronting something that you haven't confronted. It may be the process of conflict resolution. But you will find a fresh start when you allow yourself to go through the process and not deny that there's a process involved. Okay? And not be around people who allow you to deny there's a process involved. Yes, churchgoers think everything is a miracle. Why do we think everything is a miracle? Have we been taught that? Because the pastors I know, and I know quite a few, don't teach that everything is a miracle. Miracles usually show up to defy natural circumstances that have to be defied. In other words, it shouldn't take a miracle, right, for you to find a job, right? It shouldn't take a miracle. But there are some circumstances where after you have done all your process and you're still coming up against a brick wall, that's when a miracle would take place. It's not going to take place when you're laying in bed all day saying, Lord, give me a job, right? That simply means you have not applied yourself to the process to even begin with. But you're hoping that a job is going to magically appear or somebody's going to magically call you and you're going to get a job. So miracles really are a response to something that has to be defied in the natural. But Christians, unfortunately, sometimes want to just live our life as if everything in the natural needs to be defied rather than going through the processes of natural life occurrence. Okay? So what a fresh start is not. Like she said, she thought that if she just pushed a quick reset button, an easy life could put her on track. Yeah, debt cancellation when your credit is 475? Not so much. There's a process to increasing your score. And you may not even agree with the process of increasing your score, but you can't say there isn't one. So it's a matter of choice of whether or not you want to follow the process. Okay? So she says, what I found was the insight into what a fresh start truly means. I found that a fresh start wasn't a sudden occurrence. I found that merely attempting, desiring, praying, professing, and wishing did not grant me a fresh start I was desperately seeking. I discovered that a fresh start is more. I discovered that a fresh start is a process, a journey, A journey that requires a plan. To me, the words fresh start inspired thoughts of hope, newness, opportunity, and the possibility of what can be. One of my favorite definitions of a fresh start is this: an opportunity to start over without prejudice. Ooh, 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 ooh. Now just let that settle for a moment. An opportunity to start over without prejudice. And I'm going to tell you right now, sometimes God releases a fresh start in your life and detaches you from everything that would prejudice your outcome. Somebody needs to write that down, because that was a fresh download. My God. Sometimes God gives you an opportunity to start over without prejudice. And sometimes that means he releases you from people, from places, from individuals, from circumstances that would prejudice your outcome, that would be a source of hindrance to your outcome, because they're already prejudiced. So sometimes he lets people fall off. Yes, past mindsets. Sometimes he lets people fall off that can't get over the fact that you're changing. Hear me good. I'm going to say it one more time. A fresh start is an opportunity to start over without prejudice. And so God knows those places and those people who would not allow you to be the new you that he's creating. So he just allows them to fall off. He allows them to disconnect, because he's saying, I want to give you a fresh new start. Here's another one. This means an opportunity to start over without any preconceived ideas, judgments, or convictions. This is why, my dear friends, beloved of God, that sometimes God has to move you out of a state, out of a school, out of a ministry that simply won't let you start over. Sometimes it's not you, it's them. And sometimes it is you, but it's the you that requires a different set of support around you to make sure that you keep going in the direction of God's call for your life. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means they might be prejudiced people. And so they're prejudiced concerning who you are, what you were, what you used to do, how you used to act, how you used to conversate, how you used to behave yourself, right? All of those things God may be changing about you. And so it may require a new support group to push you into the place where you're supposed to be. All right? So sometimes, I don't know where we get this language from, where, oh, you got to cut people off. Not necessarily. Sometimes God just allows them to fall off because you're going in a different direction. It doesn't mean that the people were evil. Why do we do that? Why do we paint everybody as an evil person that had to leave your life in order for you to get to where God is going? It's not necessarily the case. Okay? How about, yes, thank you, Apostle. How about you start over without their prejudice, and also make sure you start over without your prejudice towards them? I don't have to hate you to move on with my life. I don't have to dislike you to move on with my life. Right? I don't have to character assassinate you to move on with my life. I don't understand why we do that. You know, that in order for me to do good, the people I disconnected with have to be evil. You're right. It could be pride that makes people feel like everyone else has to be cut off. And again, here's another one. Lord Jesus. People don't have to be beneath you in order for them to have to leave your life. People don't have to be on your level, below your level, or above your level in order for them to have to leave your life. So all of this stuff about they're not on my level yet, and no. Move on. Exactly, Apostle. If God said move on, wish them well, and carry on your journey. But instead, we make up all of these ideas surrounding why God had to change everyone in our life. And we don't have to do that. Just receive the revelation for your life and keep it moving. Please command it, Apostle. So, she says, I have chosen. Yes, it is irritating strife is what we see displayed. And sometimes people can see through this manufactured strife. That's what I call it. It's manufactured strife. You're creating drama where there doesn't need to be drama. You just need to move forward with your life. Wish them well, and you move forward. So, she says, before I go any further, I need to call your attention to an important keyword from this definition, and that keyword is opportunity. And I'm actually going to go to a break right now so that I don't drop off of Periscope. So, if you're tuning in, I promise you I will be back in less than 30 seconds. All right? So please keep your notification on. I'm coming right back with part 2, and we are going to continue this talk today. All right? Look to see you in 30 seconds.